For anyone that's familiar with the show, FS1's The Facility, uh, today, Acho, Shady, McCoy, James Jones, and Chase Daniels were discussing Jalen Hurts' status at the moment. I mean, one could say the question is kind of a strange question at this point. You know, Jalen Hurts is a 5-year starter. Though if one was to look at his resume, one would have to say it's a very impressive resume for a 5-year player. It's rare for someone in their first 5 years to, make one Super Bowl, forget two, and then win a Super Bowl, be a Super Bowl MVP, and then also capture an All Pro, make an All Pro team, as well as a few Pro Bowls. Um, Now, Acho asked the question, which we're going to play the video, and all three of those guys are going to give their opinions, with the special attention on Chase Daniels' opinion, because I think his is the most irrational. And we're going to play that, and then I'm going to comment on what he said. And then for anyone who watches this, I would like to know what you think in the comment section. So here we go.
But now the conversation has shifted. It's shifted to the next layer, the next level of greatness. After being named Super Bowl MVP, the question is simple, but the question is powerful. Is Jalen Hurts on a Hall of Fame path? Chase Daniel, I will first say yes. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Last 30 years, think about the quarterbacks, the players in the game of the National Football League that have won Super Bowl MVPs plus an All-Pro. You got Steve Young. You got John Elway, Kurt Warner, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts. You cannot get on a list like this by coincidence. You cannot get on a list like this by luck. You cannot get on a list like this by chance. You can only get on a list like this by talent. Hall of Fame path. Not yet solidified himself as a Hall of Famer, but what this list suggests is very simple. Both for a year, he was one of the best at his position, all pro. And in a year, he played the best on the biggest stage in front of 126 million people, the most watched Super Bowl ever. Shout out to Fox. So what this suggests is that Jalen Hurts has been one of the best at his position for a period in time. And on the biggest stage, Jalen Hurts was the best that there is. He is on a path to becoming a Hall of Famer. Is there still more to be done? Absolutely. But when you think about records, Jalen Hurts has set records. Super Bowl rushing record by a quarterback, 72 yards, broke his own record of 70 yards from 2 years ago. When you think about records, Jalen Hurts is setting records. Only Hurts and Montana that played in multiple Super Bowls and had multiple rushing and passing touchdowns. You do not get on lists like this by chance. We're not talking video games. We're talking real life. And as it pertains to the path, Jalen Hurts is walking on it.
That was good, Austin. Can you $4 us and put the graphic up, please, Colvin?
I'm nervous. I am nervous.
So QBs to win the Super Bowl MVP are an All-Pro. Steve Young,
Yeah.
John Elway,
Check.
Kurt Warner,
Check.
Tom Brady,
A couple times.
Peyton Manning, Mahomes, Rodgers, my guy Drew Brees. And then you got Jalen Hurts highlighted in blue down there. Of course, do you think he belongs on that list? Do you think he fits on that list with those names right there? Be honest, because I like what you were saying. Be honest. Does he fit?
You mean the players on the list?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does he fit with those names?
So here's a great question.
On the player of the list.
Based upon what criteria? Talent.
The eye test, Acho.
The eye test. The only one I'd put him on the list with is Kurt Warner. I'd say go with Kurt.
All right. Now, the first thing is Acho had put up a list of the quarterbacks, the only quarterbacks to win, I believe you said all MVP. I believe you said all pro and MVP. So these were just facts. Okay, so there was Montana, John Elway, Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Steve Young, Patrick Mahomes. These are just facts. Chase Daniel asked the question, does he fit? Right. So the first problem with the question that he's asking is he's asking a question that can only be answered subjectively about something that isn't subjective, that is completely objective. Meaning, if he is the only guy with those stats or with that accomplishment, then that is what it is, right? Right? It's the quarterback that wins Super Bowl MVP and earn an All-Pro. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys, 9 guys. He's there. So, right, it's stupid. It's a stupid question. So what is it that Chase Daniels has a problem with? Right? That's number one. So the way Acho responded, I don't think was a proper response. But to continue the conversation, he says, based on what criteria? Chase Daniels says, and this is the beauty of this whole thing with these guys. When a guy does not have an answer that is empirical, meaning something that is actual concrete data that you can use to strengthen your argument, they go to this thing, eye test. The problem with the eye test argument is that it's completely subjective. It's subject to one's eyesight. But here, of course, we're talking about, metaphorically speaking, it's what appears to be greatness to you, or what appears to be beauty to you. And as the old saying goes, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. That's just like asking, about like the beauty of a woman or someone's face or something like that. And if someone was to say, I don't think she belongs there in this beauty contest, honestly, who's to say that she does or doesn't, or to say this person's right or wrong? You get it? This is the weakness and the irrationality of the argument that he's using. It isn't based on anything. What is a fact is there's only 8 guys to win a Super Bowl and to earn an All-Pro. That's just what it is. So to ask the question, does he fit? Of course he fits, because the criterion is that you won a Super Bowl MVP and that you had an All-Pro. Right? So it's just stupid from the beginning. But just to entertain these guys, I'm going to play a little bit more, and then,
There's a difference between Hall of Fame stats. You're good. You can take that off. There's a difference between Hall of Fame stats and Hall of Fame talent. And you're thinking that I'm not even going to respond to that. That's a different conversation. But stats versus talent right now.
He said there's a difference between Hall of Fame stats and Hall of Fame talent. As if you can get Hall of Fame stats without Hall of Fame talent. So he believes that there's this area that exists where I can get Hall of Fame stats without Hall of Fame talent. What is that? Right? So this is why we're gonna follow this logic all the way to the end and get to the conclusion that we all know it really is. It's just hate. It's just maybe jealousy. It's just something of that nature. His argument is there's a difference between Hall of Fame stats and Hall of Fame talent. And then he said, we're going to deal with that some other time. Why? Because he knows he's full of shit. That's why. He knows that what he's saying is irrational. Let's continue.
There's just no stretch of imagination that he has the Hall of Fame talent. He's a winner, sure. But at what point? And I hate doing that. I hate doing this.
I hate when you do it
because it's the day after the day after. I like that. I use it.
He said there's no stretch of the imagination that suggests he has the Hall of Fame talent. Okay. All right. This goes back to because this is what I'm saying. If we're going to talk about talent, what does that? What is that? Right? Talent is what? Just God-given ability to sing, this and that. So how are we going to do this here? Jalen Hurts, just like every other quarterback that comes into the NFL, right? Because talent is something that's, okay, it's subjective until it's put to a sort of test where it's measurable until it's measured. Okay. When he came out, just like other players, he went to the actual combine. This is the thing. He was at an actual combine. Okay. At the combine, Jalen Hurts actually scored very well according to the standards that they have at the combine. His throwing strength, his throwing power, his throwing velocity, all of these things were on par with Justin Herbert, a guy that everyone would say has the talent. This is the thing. And you can look it up. Matter of fact, if I get a chance, I'll tag it here. At the combine, he surprised everyone because they saw that his throwing velocity, his accuracy, and all of these things, these actual measurables for this talent thing that he's talking about, were actually on par with those guys. What other things do we look at in terms of talent? How about the ability to run? Jalen Hurts' speed is in the 4.5 range. And we already saw that he's able to run in the game, right? So that's actual talent. Besides that, like the throw to Devontae Smith, the throws to A.J. Brown, all of these types of things, what part of them are not talent? Right? I just wish I could be the person to ask these questions. What part of these things are not talent? He says, under no stretch of the imagination does he have the talent. And he's not quoting any measurables. He's judging talent on eye test. And let's look at eye test. Eye test is what? And it is something we all know, something we all use to a degree. But this is the thing with eye test. I do believe in eye test, okay? But sometimes and oftentimes, the eye test thing is a person's excuse when there's some other reason why you don't like a person. It's the excuse you're going to use when you don't have anything that is actually concrete to argue with. That's what it is, and this is what I'm saying he's doing. So I'm not saying eye test is just completely useless or something that has no relevance. But when a person is winning most of the time more than they lose, they're accomplishing what they need to accomplish, they're winning Super Bowls, and then you're still talking about eye test.
From you stole it of the Super Bowl, and I just got to bring people down to reality a little bit. Like, at what time and at what point in his career do we have to say that, man, he was carried by a really great team, and he had those stats, and you can't take away the All-Pro season, but in my opinion, winning Super Bowl MVP, I love it. I'm not trying to take it away from him. But it's not necessarily legacy defined. There's a lot of Super Bowl MVPs that aren't in the Hall of Fame.
Of course.
And because you played one really good game, biggest game of your career.
Yes, sir.
Right? But, like, that's not legacy defined for me. You can't take away a second-team All-Pro.
Okay. So there's many guys who won a Super Bowl, and because you only played one really good game. So are you claiming Jalen Hurts only played one really good game? He's already admitted on another occasion that, well, the fact is he's been in 2 Super Bowls, right? And the first Super Bowl, according to most, he outplayed Patrick Mahomes. So that's one really good game. And then he just won the Super Bowl MVP in the second one. So at the very least, he had 2 really good games, right? Right. So this is when you could tell a guy he has nothing with his argument, and he's just scrambling for stuff. This is how you know how to detect a hater. Because when you really listen to him closely, what is he really saying? He's saying, I see him this particular way, and y'all should see him the same way I'm seeing him. Not based on anything concrete, I ain't got no numbers for you. I ain't got nothing for you. All I got is, this is my eye test. And come on, y'all. Let's be for real. This is reality. No, reality is Jalen Hurts won a Super Bowl, and he has an All-Pro. Now, he said, at what point do we admit that he's been carried by a really good team? Okay. Kurt Warner is one of the guys on the list that he claims Jalen Hurts is not on the level of. Shouldn't even be mentioned with Kurt Warner. Was Kurt Warner carried by Marshall Faulk and Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce and Orlando Pace and Dick Vermeil? And was he carried by those guys? Was Joe Montana in 88 and 89 carried by Jerry Rice and John Taylor and Tom Rathman and Roger Craig? Was Steve Young, who couldn't get over the hump until Deion Sanders came, carried by Deion Sanders and Jerry Rice and John Taylor and Ricky Waters? What about his man Drew Brees? Does anyone really believe Jalen Hurts isn't as talented as Drew Brees? Really? Really? Because I don't know about y'all. Me personally, hey, look, I'm taking Jalen Hurts over Drew Brees any day of the week. Now, listen, if you rather Drew Brees, you think him sitting there throwing for 5,000 yards every year means something? To me, it means nothing to me. I mean, I ain't going to say it means nothing, but I'm not going to take you just because of that, right? I've seen Kirk Cousins throw for those types of yards, right? And be trash, okay? Hurts definitely has accomplished everything Drew Brees has accomplished already. Has Drew Brees even been to 2 Super Bowls? So how in the flying fuck is he not at least mentionable with Drew Brees or Kurt Warner? But anyway, let's continue. Let's see how he sinks more into the abyss.
It's just way too early to say that. Like, the dude's 26, 27. To say Hall of Fame pass, and I'm trying to say this respectfully, it's a really great start to the career. But you look at, like, Eli Manning. He was not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Quite honestly, it wasn't even really close for him getting in. 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, 4 Pro Bowls. I know he didn't have the All-Pro. I get that. I'm with you on that. But just to say that he, like, I'm trying to be, because I like what Jalen Hurts.
No, you're not trying to be respectful. You don't have an argument. All this, I'm just trying to be respectful. Just today. What do you want to say? He's trash? What do you want to say? You watched the fucking game. You saw a Super Bowl game where Saquon Barkley got the ball 25 times and got 57 yards. So now what's your argument? Bum? Like, we don't want to get into your career. Played almost over 10 years in the NFL and only had 9 touchdowns. You bum? Like you want to do that? Because you want to get disrespectful? No, get disrespectful so that way we can get disrespectful. How about that? Bum? Because I saw you with the Eagles. I saw you, boy. You couldn't even beat out Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, who Jalen Hurts scared the hell out of. Right? Let's talk about that. How Jalen Hurts as a rookie came into the league and beat out Carson Wentz. By all accounts, Alshon Jeffrey will tell you that. Beat out Carson Wentz as a rookie. You, who were given the job over Carson Wentz, lost the job because you sucked so bad in the preseason. But I get it. We ain't talking about you. But let's just be for real. Like, who are you, dog? But anyway.
This year, I thought it was an excellent year. But we just have to keep in.
ESPN Bet now has profit boosts. So I parlay this money line with these points and total yards.
Contrast.
But here is
what is happening with him, and like,
here's where I think you're blind.
He's been carried.
Here's where I think
by a great
Daniel
team.
is blind. He cannot see this thing.
I got 2015 vision, dog. I ain't blind. I'll tell you that much.
Here's where I think you're blind, Chase.
You can see far like this.
X-ray, dog. You keep looking at quarterbacks like most of us do in an archaic sense.
No, I don't. No,
You do.
stop that.
You do.
Stop. No, you keep saying that. Patrick Mahomes ain't archaic, dog.
Because the archaic...
Look at his last. No. Look at his last few years for Patrick Mahomes. The numbers weren't great. The dude finds a way to win. Now I know he had a bad game, but he's been to 5 Super Bowls in 7 years. He's not archaic.
But what you're suggesting is you should get into the Hall Hurts. He doesn't match those people talent-wise.
Acho.
But what is talent? Because you said a Super Bowl record.
He might be Hall of Fame with his mind and his heart. He ain't Hall of Fame out there throwing a ball, dog. You can't tell me that.
But playing quarterback is more than just throwing the ball. Tom Brady has a passing record in the Super Bowl over 500 yards. Jalen Hurts has a rushing record in the Super Bowl twice, over 70 yards twice. But we look at Jalen Hurts' rushing record in the Super Bowl and we spit at it. It pales in comparison. But a record in the Super Bowl is a record in the Super Bowl. But because we have the archaic mindset that quarterbacks can only pass, not you singly, but because we carry that mindset, we overlook Jalen Hurts' records. I am suggesting it does look different, Shady. James, it does look different. But just because it looks different don't mean it doesn't look just as good.
All right. Acho's doing okay, but he's lucky I'm not there because, right, we have 57 years or 59 years now of quarterbacking and football playing in the Super Bowl era. Prior to that, we had, I don't know, another 50 years. Quarterbacking has looked different at different times for different guys. And there's more than one way to do it. And this is even what Peyton Manning has said. I'm going to show you. It's more than one way to do it. Because Peyton Manning, because this is what I'm saying, this guy right here was a bum. Career backup bum. Couldn't beat out Carson Wentz when Carson Wentz was a rookie. Jalen Hurts beat out Carson Wentz when Carson Wentz was in his prime. Okay? But at any rate, their quarterbacks, the idea of quarterbacks throwing 40 times a game and 50 times a game, which is the stupidest way to play football, number one. It's a stupid-ass way to play football. It really is. This wasn't always the case. Some of my favorite quarterbacks are guys like Troy Aikman, guys like Terry Bradshaw, really, because I value clutchness over a lot of that. A lot of y'all hate on Terry Bradshaw. Terry Bradshaw, next to Jalen Hurts, is probably the most hated guy there is because people really believe he was carried by the Steel Curtain defense and by Franco Harris, and that's what people really believe. But if you really watch those Super Bowls, remember, I watched those Super Bowls that Terry Bradshaw was in. And Terry Bradshaw flat out stepped up and outplayed Roger Staubach, who had arguably as much talent, the same amount of talent around him. He would step up and just outplay him. Now, there was a couple games where Franco really got off. The one time they pissed Franco Harris off because Hollywood Henderson was talking shit, all of that. I know about all of that. But Terry Bradshaw has a 112 quarterback rating in the Super Bowl specifically to just an 80-something rating in the regular season. Jalen Hurts has a 108 quarterback rating in Super Bowls and a 93 rating in the regular season. Okay? Some guys are just ballers who step the hell up and play, right? Those are just my kind of guys, so I'm a little different than some of y'all. I like Dan Marino, but I never really was into the Dan Marino type. My guy was John Elway. And if you look at John Elway, and I don't want to hear about this different era shit. It's still football, and it's still possessions, okay? John Elway never put up these crazy gaudy stats. Neither did Troy Aikman, okay? But they played effective football. They played ball control football. And John Elway would use his legs, use his arm, all of these different things to win, okay? Now, Chase Daniels, he just keeps saying, hey, he's not doing it, throwing the ball, this and that. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, right? You're getting the ball to your receivers, long balls, short balls. You're doing it. What do you want? A sidearm, 70-yard fucking throw when you fall in on one leg? What do you want? Like, that's stupid. That's a stupid way to look at football. It's like elementary, like a little kid. That's why he was probably trash when he played. Let me just go back. let me just let this guy. Let me go.
And with all due respect to Jalen Hurts, because he just came off of playing a heck of a football and they won the Super Bowl and he won MVP. Let's please stop putting them other dudes' names.
That graphic needs to be torn up digitally and thrown away.
No.
He did that, James.
I know,
This isn't my opinion, Shady.
I'm just saying respectfully, Acho, you played the game of football.
Don't.
No. I'm being serious. You played the game of football and you watched the football games. And I'm going to leave it there. So respectfully, let's leave the Toms and the Rodgers.
What's that mean, James?
Let's leave the Toms and the Rodgers and all that out there because he doesn't.
Look at these guys. Their lack of intellect is being put on display here. The one thing what Acho has over these guys, he's just a little smarter than them. He's a little sharper. James Jones, all right, he's not the sharpest guy, right? He has like a preconceived notion about Jalen Hurts based on whatever, the way he played. He don't like the fact that he doesn't just throw the ball every single time he sees somebody open, right? He don't like the fact that he's a little careful with his throws. He don't like that, right? He wants gunslinging all the time. Right? The guy's open, don't throw it, dog. I know y'all still won the game, but I'm just saying, dog, just throw the ball. Right? That's James Jones' mind. He's very not the sharpest guy, not the sharpest knife in the kitchen. Clearly. You notice all of their arguments. They're just saying, why are you putting him up there with those guys? Because he is a guy who got a Super Bowl MVP and an All-Pro. These are facts. You're arguing against things that were actually done. We're not talking eye test. And then their argument is always eye test. Bro, well, I don't have your eyes. You don't have my eyes. Everyone's eyes are different. So eye test is not an argument. It's just not. What it is an excuse when you don't have an argument. When you don't have an argument, it's your fucking excuse is what you're hiding behind. That's what it is. Because you can't convince me to see what you see, and I can't convince you to see what I see. I can't.
Not play the quarterback position the way they play it.
But it doesn't mean
stop at a very, very high level, leading their team, which means that if they go, the team goes. All right, so let's stop.
You don't think he did that?
Let's stop doing that because the team win as Saquon Barkley and this whole line win.
James, Saquon Barkley had 57 yards on 25 carries.
What about the whole season?
Put up 40 points, James.
What about the whole season?
Acho, did you just hear what I said? I said Saquon Barkley and this defense. That's why I said 2, all right? Because it wasn't a lot of points being out there. But respectfully, we all watch the quarterback position, and we know that Jalen Hurts is not on the levels as those guys at the quarterback spot. But the key word is path. That's the key word. We're not asking, is it a Hall of Fame career right now? Is he a Hall of Fame talent and all that? The key word in this whole question, right, that you be putting in, all right, is path, all right? And when you listen to the question, path, yes, he is on the path. You have an All-Pro. You are a Super Bowl champion.
Yes.
You have a Super Bowl MVP.
Yes.
You've been to 2 Super Bowls.
Yes.
All right? You are on a Hall of Fame path. But when I sit up here and I look at all these quarterbacks that you have up there, I can't confidently say he's a Hall of Famer, but he's 26 years old. He's an extremely young player with a lot of football left ahead of him to play. So when you say path, is he on that path? Absolutely. He's accomplished a lot in his 5-6 years playing in the National Football League. So Hall of Fame path, yes. I don't know what the future holds for Jalen Hurts. He can get back to another Super Bowl next year. They got a really good team. He can win MVP again next year. In 2 Super Bowls, he played his best football.
Yeah.
So he can win another MVP. So he is on a Hall of Fame path, but we all watch the games. And I think that's what we cannot forget up here when you watch the game of football and you watch those other dudes play the quarterback position and you watch Jalen Hurts play the quarterback position. Now, I know we got another Jalen Hurts.
See, that's the part I don't get, right? Yeah, I watch too, and I don't see what you see. You think Elway and Breeze are doing something that's so, oh my God, what is he doing? That Hurts didn't just do, and I disagree. I don't recall, I actually don't recall any of them playing like he did in either Super Bowl. When? Like, what are we talking about? Like, I just watched him. He balled the hell out. You know, like, it's this James Jones. I put it this way. James Jones is bad, but he's not as bad as Chase here because at least he's listening to the question and he's being real. He's saying, if you look at the accomplishments from that standpoint, talking about in 5 years, an All-Pro, 2 Super Bowls, Super Bowl win. He's at least being reasonable and saying, well, he's on that path. But in my opinion, speaking from James Jones, in my opinion, he's not on those guys. He's not as good as those guys. Because that's fine. Because your opinion is something I can take or leave. But the one thing we can't take or leave is that damn Super Bowl and that damn Super Bowl MVP and them damn wins. You can sit here and believe he's only winning because of Saquon and all of that stuff if you want to. You know, I can really pressure you and talk about the Falcon game where the Eagles lost because Saquon drops the ball, right? I could talk about that. That's a game that the Eagles actually definitely lost because Saquon dropped the ball. I can also, but what they want to do is they want to assume that because the Eagles won those games running, that they wouldn't have won if they didn't run. In other words, if Saquon didn't bust a 60-yard run, they wouldn't have won. You don't know that. All you know is that's the way it played out. But what you do know is this is Saquon's first year on the team, and they did get to the Super Bowl without him. They got to the Super Bowl with Miles Sanders before. Did Miles Sanders carry Jalen Hurts? Right? I never understood the idea of him being carried. I never understood the idea of him being a game manager, any of that. Even though all quarterbacks are game managers, really. But I never understood that because of the fact that Jalen Hurts is a dual-threat quarterback. How is a dual-threat guy just some game manager? Dual-threat quarterbacks are doing things that are off-script constantly. And to me, the guy that can perform off-script can't be a game manager. He runs out of the pocket. He makes throws. Like the game manager is the guy that's pretty much, from what I see it, sits in the pocket and just does what he can, more like a Phil Simms. More like a Drew Brees, honestly. Drew Brees is a game manager with a good arm and a good mind, right? But I take Jalen Hurts over Drew Brees. I just do. I do. Me personally. So.
Block, so I'm going to save a lot of my ammo for that block. You know what I'm saying? But with all due respect to Jalen Hurts balling out and dominating the best player in the world, really in the last 2 Super Bowls, he outplayed Patty.
He did. And that's my point. We all watched the game. That is true. But, Shady, we all watched the game differently. We watched the game from the subjective lens of our eyes. But what is objective is winning. What is objective is the fact that Jalen Hurts was named All-Pro. It does not matter if James Jones feels like he should have been or shouldn't have. Chase feels like he should have or shouldn't. Emmanuel Acho feels like he should have or he was. That happened. That's not subjective. Jalen Hurts was Super Bowl MVP. That happened. That's not subjective. So we can subjectively assess what is and what isn't talent. People tell me all the time, Justin Herbert's one of the most talented quarterbacks they've ever seen. What does that matter? What matters is results. Jalen Hurts, to me, Shady McCoy, he gets results. That is why he is obviously objectively on a Hall of Fame path.
Good job, Acho. He basically got them out of there because their whole argument is subjective argumentation. Good job, Acho.
I think he's on all his Fame path as well. I mean, only starting for 4 years.
You're laughing.
He's made the playoffs.
Look at these bums laughing. Like, these guys are so disrespectful. They bums. Like James Jones, you was all right, nigga, but you ain't, you ain't that dude to be laughing. Like, really.
He's an All-Pro and he's a Pro Bowler 2 times out of the years. And then in 4 years, going to 2 Super Bowls, like that's a big accomplishment. And this is the beginning. It's like I look at Patrick Mahomes, and it's obviously way different, but his road to success and to Hall of Fame. Right now, the difference is now he has more stats, right? More touchdowns, more passes. But if you just look at this, the way they've been going as far as
You smiling over here, dog. You smiling at me.
I can't do the Mahomes. I can't do Hurts. Do not do the
Go ahead, dog.
All I'm saying is, no shot. Dog, I can't take you serious.
It's so funny. No, I'm saying, he's saying that I can't. He said, oh my.
seriously for a second.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God, comparing him to Mahomes. Y'all just saw Mahomes running for his life, right? You saw Mahomes get his ass. Comparing him to Mahomes. The guy y'all played twice. Come on, bro. I can't take them serious.
If obviously, I'm not comparing Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. They're not even close. Seriously, they're not. But what I'm saying, if you look at their careers, though.
Let's be real. You mean they're not close? Okay, so it's the two players. Okay, Patrick Mahomes, better arms. If you want to believe that, okay, fine. Hurts is better runner. Okay, what do you mean? But as far as competitor and they go at it, I can hardly tell the damn difference when they're going at it. Now, one could argue if Mahomes had Tyreek Hill and all of that. That's cool. Andy Reid need to go get him all that stuff. And then we can really assess it, I guess. But, yeah, sure. Mahomes the best right now. He got 3 rings. I don't argue with that. I'm not one of them dudes. You understand what I'm saying? But, you know.
Out the stats part of passing yards, touchdowns, the MVPs and all that. I mean, in Jalen Hurts' first 4 seasons, right, as a starter, 2 of them games was in the Super Bowl. That is not something you can just make up. You know what I mean? The same thing with Patrick Mahomes. Since he's been a starter, AFC Championship game, Super Bowl. So all I'm saying, like, the path, I think he's on the Hall of Fame journey so far. He's only 26 years old.
He's had 1 good season in 2022, and he had 2 good games. So 1 good season and 2 good games.
Elite season. Elite season. He was an all-pro.
He was second.
He said, yeah, 1 good season and 2 good games. This dude is a clown. Like, honestly, if you don't think this was a good season, he's a clown. If Chase Daniel is trying to say that Jalen Hurts this whole year only had 2 good games, he should be shut down. He's a clown. That's a clown. Because objectively, if you just look at the numbers, you look at the quarterback rating, this was a damn good season. And last year, how bad it was is really overrated. Okay, it's really overrated how bad last year was. Last year was a situation of where a whole team just collapsed, to be honest with you. This dude is a nut. He's a bum. He's a bum.
Team All-Pro. That's not elite's first team, the big dog. That's how I view it. 100%. And when you look, I agree. I agree. It was good.
It was elite.
Wait, listen. Second team, hold on real quick, because now second team
First
All-Pro
is not elite. That's almost elite. Someone beat you out. Who beat you out, bro? Mahomes that year?
Out of 32 quarterbacks, it's only 2 of them got picked.
Just saying.
All right, so now the bum Chase Daniel, this is when you could tell. This is when you can really tell that a person has no argument. They actually lost their argument. And what they're doing is you're just playing around and just talking trash and doing all of that. Because now he's trying to say that Hurts' year where he was second team All-Pro, and the only reason he wasn't like the MVP that year was really because he missed 2 games. He's trying to say the second team All-Pro is not elite and only first team All-Pro is elite. He said that's the way I view it. So at this point, just don't even take him serious because he's so arrogant. This guy's just arrogant. He believes that, what he views is all that matters. Okay, you can't argue with a guy like that because you can never, you're never going to come to a conclusion or come to an agreement as to who won the argument and who doesn't. He's just one of those types of guys, right? When you run into that type of person, you realize that you're arguing with a fool, right? There's a great wise man by the name of Imam Shafi'i, who was a great master of law back in the day. He said that, never argue with a fool. Okay, never argue with a fool. You'll never win, right? You're always going to lose because the fool is going to constantly change the goalposts from here to there. You're going to change the point from here to there. You don't agree on any particular principles that we can say, okay, I won or you won. So he's just an uneducated, foolish guy who's in his feelings, not using anything that's verifiable or anything. He's a clown. So done with this guy.
Now, this is the problem I have with Chase. You gonna stand there and say that? When you can't talk about Sam Darnold. You act like
I don't think he's elite.
So second team All-Pro is not elite.
I got Shady going now. I like
That's elite.
That's elite. Listen, but 2 games this year, right? Like his 2 best games were in the 2 biggest stages of the NFL.
Correct.
This NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. So I don't think you can put 1 elite season, there you go, in 2 games and say the dude's on a Hall of Fame pass. Like, to me, like we're acting like this dude's the second coming out.
I think the key word is path.
I got you.
No, for real though, because I think you're coming from the standpoint like you're.
I wish y'all could see his body language. He's doing all types of moving around and all this dumb stuff. It's when a person knows they're wrong, and they have nothing. They just start talking stupid crap, and that's where he is. He's a clown.
That's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you got to
Embarrassing.
listen to path. And when you look at what Jalen Hurts has accomplished on the path in 5-6 years,
That's what I'm getting at.
You have to say yes, because we don't know what's happening. Another All Pro and a Super Bowl could be happening.
Yeah.
If you have 2 All Pros and 2 Super Bowls MVPs, you are walking into the Hall of Fame, whether we like it or not. That's what we're saying about Eli. I don't think Eli Manning is a Hall of Fame talent. But he beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl twice, and he has 2 Super Bowl MVPs. He never was elite at his position in his career. He don't have no All-Pros. I mean, he never was elite. He never was top 5-ish, top 10-ish in the regular season in his career, in my humble opinion. It was never his time, like, I'm the guy. So when we just say path, you got to say path. But I am hearing you. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but you just got to eliminate the Hall of Fame and listen to Acho put that path in there.
First of all,
and that's what he's on.
Acho's graphic got me. Okay, but let's just, before we move on, let's just remember, in the history of the game, there's only 26 quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame. Just, like, it is very, very elite company.
Mm-hmm.
So, path, sure, maybe with what James is saying. But let's just remember, like, 26 quarterbacks in the history of the game.
Love slots? The DraftKings Casino app's got you covered. They got tons of slots to choose from, like Cash Eruption.
Are in the Hall of Fame. I'll leave it at that.
I mean, how many Super Bowl MVP quarterbacks are there? Jalen Hurts is an elite company. How many quarterbacks in the history of the game of football have a Super Bowl rushing record? Jalen Hurts is an elite company. What I'm suggesting is
He's a fool. There's 57 Super Bowls. 4 of them is by Bradshaw. Bradshaw got 4 of the damn rings. Montana got another 4 of the damn rings. Troy Aikman got 3 of them. Eli got 2 of them. He said Mahomes got 3 of them. Brady got 7 of them. Right. So of course it wouldn't be that many quarterbacks. Right? This guy's an idiot. Okay. And you're talking about 57 Super Bowls. Right. And right there, that's 7, 8, 9. That's 22 of them right there, just between 6 guys. It's like, this guy's a moron, bro. Like, clear moron. So, anyway, man.
we all played the game, so we know doing things in the game is difficult. It's not like this is made up. This is not some majestic sci-fi statistics that Jalen Hurts is doing. If you're talking about what they've done on the field, Jalen Hurts has done everything there.
You're thinking too much with your head, looking at stats, dog. Think about more with your
heart. I'll ask you real quick.
He said you're looking too much about looking at stats. He said think with your heart. This is what Chase Daniel said. Yo, this guy has just shown and proven that he is unqualified to do this job. When have you ever heard an analyst say you're thinking with stats and all of this stuff, buddy? You know, look, he said you should be looking with your heart. This dude should be fired, bro. Like Acho, for real. Like, and I know this is your homie and all of that, and y'all cool, and it's not even a bad show. And actually having haters helps a little bit, so you have good back and forth. This guy is showing that he's not really qualified, bro. And I'm sorry. You know, I don't really call for people's job, but come on, man. This dude thinks that an analyst is supposed to sit up there. Like, what are you saying? He's admitting that he's a hater. That's what he's admitting. He clearly admits that he's a hater. Let's play that again.
The game of football have a Super Bowl rushing record. Jalen Hurts is an elite company. What I'm suggesting is we all play the game, so we know doing things in the game is difficult. It's not like this is made up. This is not some majestic sci-fi statistics that Jalen Hurts is doing. If you're talking about what they've done on the field, Jalen Hurts has done everything there.
You're thinking too much with your head, looking at stats, dog. Think about more with your
heart. I'll ask you real quick.
This is an analyst. Don't look at stats. Go with your heart. That's an analyst. You know, Acho, good job, man. Acho really was a guy that really was one of those guys that was really hard on Jalen Hurts all year, especially when he wasn't understanding what the Eagles were doing. You know, by having him not throw a lot and running Saquon a lot and all of that. And he had those questions. And now I can accept his questions now as being legit and not being hate. Why? Because once it's been proven that works And then when Jalen Hurts was needed, he showed that, of course, he can do it. And he goes and balls out in a game where Saquon Barkley is bottled up, and he goes out there and wins the MVP. Acho is mature enough to take back the positions he had before and reevaluate his position. That shows that Acho was not a hater, that he was really legit with his questions. Whereas Chase Daniel has proven to me, in my opinion, to the world, that his opinion is not based on anything substantial. It is all pure hate. And boys and girls, don't be Chase Daniel, because your legacy at the end of the day will be that of a clown. Thank you very much for Land Speaks. And this hat is nice, ain't it? Peace out.